Hello, everyone. My name is Wendy Myers. Welcome to the Myers Detox Podcast. You can learn all about detox on myersdetox.com, my website. But this podcast is all about how to remove toxins from your body. And today we have a very special guest, Eileen Durfee, talking about infrared sauna tips that you've never heard of. We make all kinds of different discoveries on the show today regarding infrared sauna glasses, how to clean the air in your sauna, because you're sweating and you're vaporizing all these different toxins that you sweat out in a sauna, and that gets into the air. So we have a way to clean that. We also talk about some natural beauty products and why you lose weight better when you exercise, when you have infrared lamp bulbs shining on you. So lots of really, really interesting tips on today's show. And if you're listening, you're probably very, very concerned about heavy metals. And I have developed a quiz to determine what your level of heavy metals are. If you have low, medium, or high potential levels of heavy metals. So if you want to take this 2-minute quiz, go to metalsquiz.com and find out what your metal levels are and what you can do about it if you do have heavy metals. Our guest today, Eileen Durfee, is a former nuclear power engineer, auditor, and inspector. She became toxic and suffered from allergies, chemical sensitivities, and thyroid disease, Hashimoto's. During her journey to heal, detoxify, and achieve natural health, she invented helpful solutions just on her own health journey to get better. And we all benefit as a result of that. She has so many neat things on her website, creatrixsolutions.com. Eileen is passionate about taking good ideas and creating better health products to support detoxification, energy production, mineralization, and natural health. She was granted 1 utility patent and has 7 patents pending and is writing a self-help books to fix the $100 billion a year low back pain problem. You can learn more about Eileen's work at creatrixsolutions.com. Eileen, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, well, thanks for having me.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about infrared sauna lamp therapy? You've designed an infrared sauna lamp with a really interesting tent that really helps to increase the benefits while you're doing an infrared sauna. But why don't you talk about why we want to use an infrared sauna in the first place?
Well, the whole reason why we have life on Earth is because 30% of sunlight is near infrared. It's why we have photosynthesis. Plants respond, animals, humans. And what it does is absolutely amazing because we eat to digest food to make cellular energy. And here, this light, you can bypass weak digestion systems or have a life hack to get a jolt of cellular energy because those cells absorb near infrared. And then it does something to the mitochondria. That's like the powerhouse of your cell. And it causes the cell to make ATP. So you feel great. I mean, sauna therapy is great. It's undisputed. Heat stress therapy really helps the body. Up hot enough with near infrared and then do the boost for the ATP. That's what makes it so magical.
Yeah, and we use infrared sauna therapy to induce sweat so that we have this productive sweat that has all kinds of metals and chemicals in it that we're trying to rid our body of. That's why you're listening to this podcast. You want to learn different tips and tricks on how to detox your body of heavy metals and chemicals. So that's really one of the main reasons we want to use it. But I love that infrared light bulb saunas, that they actually use bulbs. Those give you the added benefit of the energy boost because they're stimulating your mitochondria, which generate 2/3 of the energy in you. The mitochondria, the 2/3 of the energy they produce is produced from light. Is the light's kind of activating the biophotons and they produce energy. Another third of it is from your food and the nutrients that are shuttled into the mitochondria and the Krebs cycle to make ATP, which is our energy. But we need that light. And so many people, especially during the winter months, don't get enough sunlight, and therefore their energy is affected.
Well, the additional benefit, because in summertime, just because it's hot outside, do we quit taking saunas? I don't think so, because heating up your core body temperature with the near infrared light is so different than working outside and sweating. You will actually have more toxins in sweat from a sauna session than just working outside. A lot of times you'll just be losing a lot of electrolytes when you're outside and you're getting dehydrated. But the neat thing, because I went from far infrared to near infrared, and at first I thought, well, it can't be that much different. I'm sweating. But what is awesome is double the circulation with the blood shunting. Well, people don't realize, even in the saunas that have now the red light, near infrared, and far infrared frequencies, the temperature and all these frequencies are coming at the body at all different angles. So it's like the ambient air temperature is pretty much the same. But with a lamp sauna, your body, it's got this awesome homeostatic response. It's like when you first get in one of these saunas, if you've never taken one before, you'll literally start sweating on one side of your body. It's so weird. But your body shunts blood towards the light, and it will vasculate your tissues. And the purpose of that is so that the blood goes close to the skin so water can escape and form sweat to cool you down. And we want to stay hot, so we wipe off that side of the body and then we turn the opposite direction. And when you do that the first time, you're going to see where you could literally be cold on one side of your body and sweating on the other. And then when you turn, you do the same thing. And so you're kind of like a chicken on a rotisserie, but not turning that fast.
That's actually what I talk about when and I've used my sauna, that's the bulbs are on the one side. You're turning like a rotisserie chicken so that you can get every single part of your body or side of your body.
And, I started out with the homemade, wooden lamp fixture, and like Dr. Wilson advocated, using the canvas. And, I had Hashimoto's, and, it was just like cold hands and feet all the time. I mean, I could exercise and not sweat, years ago. And so that wasn't good for me, because I had to actually literally bring an auxiliary heater in there, because the canvas didn't value. I mean, it takes 1 inch of wood to have an R value of 1.4. And the other thing is, I started thinking about, okay, light travels at the speed of light. How can we keep all those healing frequencies in there with us and then maximize the time? Because I'm a gizmo woman, and I'm like, how can I hack this into making it quicker, to feel better? Because bottom line, if it isn't quick and easy to put in my life, I'm not going to do it. So I came up with this radiant tent, because it blocks all of the light. I mean, if you sit on the opposite side of this tent with a remote control trying to turn on something, the signal's blocked. It can't get through there. Yeah, granted, you can talk on your cell phone. It doesn't block that wireless, signal. But the light that we're producing can't leave. And there's pictures on my website that show, with an internal partition, the light is remaining just in that part of the sauna. And what we found is that you sweat faster when you have more activation, of the mitochondria with those healing frequencies. And so, just using a lamp, that's how I started, in a small bathroom over the back of a door. And I just wasn't sweating. And then, of course, canvas tents, and it still wasn't good. And so that's when I came up with, the radiant material. The new stuff that we just came out with, of course, it's got organic cotton, lead-free zippers, all the non-toxic stuff that we love. But it's got an R12 insulation. I mean, your house walls have an R19, and so this thing is the first sauna that you don't have to preheat. You'll sweat twice as much in half the time. Why? Maximized phototherapy, and it retains 95% of the heat.
That's great. Yeah, because that's a big issue with infrared saunas, no matter what type you have, is you've got to heat it up for 20, 30 minutes even, sometimes before you can get in, before, so that you can sweat. So you can sit in it for 30 or 40 or 50 minutes so that you can get a sweat. You can't just go into any sauna and turn it on and then expect to have a productive sauna session.
Yeah, with this tent, because I had some customers who had my earlier radiant tent, which the walls were R4.5. And so they got the temperature up, no problem, no auxiliary heat required, and it was great. But now those people, they upgraded to the new tent, and they're like calling me going, Eileen, I was dripping sweat in the old sauna at 30 minutes. I'm dripping sweat at 12 to 15 minutes in this sauna, and I just feel so much better. And so it's definitely an upgrade, and we thought about the health of the person because, when you sweat, like Wendy was saying, you're going to have, at least 6 toxins coming out of your body? I mean, isn't there like arsenic and cadmium and the BPAs and all the different stuff coming out? Then when the sweat gets hot, it actually humidifies. And so then when you have a porous material like canvas, it's going to attract and retain some of those toxins inside your sauna enclosure. So to solve that problem, and that is these panels, you just take a wet rag and you can wipe them and you can clean them, and they're non-porous. So you're not going to get the humidified toxins, in the tent. So it's cleaner, it's easier to maintain.
Yeah, and so you have this reflective surface where the red light bulbs are, emitting the light, the far and the near infrared from the bulb, and hitting it at some point, and that bounces back onto your body. So you're almost like recycling the light rays, the infrared rays, and
right.
Yeah, so you just get more out of it.
So you can see how it just holds it all in. There's nothing, coming out.
And what's so great about the reflective surface on your radiant sauna tent is that when the red bulbs emit the infrared rays, they hit the reflective surface, bounce back onto your body, say on your back, for instance, which isn't facing the light bulbs, and heats you up everywhere. You don't have to turn around like the rotisserie chicken, like I've been doing, and a lot of the listeners are doing. And so it's almost like you're recycling the infrared rays, correct?
Yeah, it's maximizing the effects. I still like turning 180 degrees because it still is hotter, even though the phototherapy is happening, by reflecting off of the radiant surface. The heat is coming off those heat lamps. And so I still like to get that blood shunning because it's double the circulation.
Yes.
But you don't have to constantly be, turning like in, the other type of enclosures.
And so is your sauna thermostat controlled? Like, can someone set the temperature if they want to?
No, it's not, because every time you do that, it increases EMF. Anything that plugs in, even with shielding, grounding, all that kind of stuff, there's no such thing as like zero EMF because it's still measurable. But those, like any dimmer switch, any, controlling thermostat switch, that throws off harmful EMF. And so with the new tent, basically the instructions are do not preheat the tent. Get in, turn it on, sit, 18 to 24 inches away from the lights, and rotate when your skin feels sensitive. And what happens is before the ambient air temperature gets too hot, to be uncomfortable, then you'll begin sweating. Now, some people that are very maybe chronically ill, they'll start off with leaving the door open, or they will only install 3 of the 4 bulbs. But most everyone, once they get the system, realizes that with no preheat, they just are in there, they're feeling great, they start sweating, and then they're getting out before they would need to turn down the temperature.
Yeah, because I don't like that. I don't like turning my sauna on and then having to wait for 30 minutes until I can get in because it just isn't hot enough. When it occurs to me to do my sauna, I want to just hop in and take care of business. You know what I'm saying? And that's a very good point with the EMF. That's a huge, huge problem in a lot of infrared saunas. And while you are getting benefit in an infrared sauna, if you have high EMF emissions or electromagnetic fields, that are emitted by our wireless internet and our cell phones and computers and things like that, those can have a negative impact on your health when you're trying to do something healthy.
Right. So there's a lot of benefits to using the radiant material in combination with the bulbs. All the other, near infrared bulb saunas, they're getting 100 to 120 degrees maximum. A lot of people put in an auxiliary heater, which is going to produce EMF and consume more, electricity. But the restricting problem that I didn't like with the canvas was I couldn't lay down. So many people want to lay down to take a sauna, to do meditation, those kinds of things. The next group of people, there's a lot of people that want to stand up and take a sauna because maybe they have back problems and they can't sit, or they're into like fascia blasting and they want to have room to rake, the bar up and down on their body. And so that's what spurred on the new design of the tent, because I had people, my old design was 4 foot by 4 foot by 5 foot. So you still had to crawl in like the other near infrared saunas, but people were flipping the tent on the side, pushing it up against the wall and laying diagonal so that they could lay down. And it's like, oh my gosh, we got to make a tent where people can lay down. And so now it's just the brackets, and you don't even have to take the panels off the tent to slip it. I made the panels just right that you can just slip it in there, flip it in less than 5 minutes. And then, of course, I'm 6 foot tall. My son is 6'5". And, there is no even traditional, far infrared sauna that a 6'5" person could stand up or even lay down in. And so with this convertible tent, you can do that. And so I think we, resolved the main arguments of why somebody wouldn't go from a far infrared to a near infrared, because, canvas material, not heating up enough, and the restriction in size. Or some people that are claustrophobic that have bought my sauna tent, and even with as small, for somebody who's claustrophobic, this tent would still be small, but because of the brightness of the radiant surface, even when you wear your eye protection wear, they don't feel claustrophobic.
Yes.
Like it's open and energetic.
Let's talk about the sauna glasses that you were just wearing. And this is really one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show. We had a conversation a while ago, and I thought, this lady really knows her stuff. She's really thinking through every different aspect of a sauna session with science-backed information and listening to her customers and catering to their needs. And so you have so many delightful products and things that you develop. We're going to go over each one of them one by one. But first, I wanted to talk about the near infrared sauna glasses. So it's been, from my understanding from interviewing so-called experts on infrared saunas, that the infrared rays are perfectly safe for your eyes. So why don't you tell us why that isn't necessarily so, and what you can do to protect your eyes while you're doing an infrared lamp sauna?
Sure. Well, I sold a sauna to an ocean inspector, and he sent me all kinds of research information for workplace exposure to near infrared, which is the 700 to 1400 nanometers of light. And if you were an employer and you were exposing your employees to less than what a person gets in a near infrared sauna, you'd have to provide protection eyewear. And so my son at the time was going to the University of Washington, and now he has a bachelor's in biology and a minor in chemistry. And so I brought him into the conversation about, what's going on here, what's the truth to this, because there is a study that rats blinded with wood alcohol had their sight restored with some red light therapy, 660 nanometers. And you hear that as the excuse for why, it's safe to not have eyewear in a near infrared sauna, because the heat lamp bulbs produce 550 to 3400 nanometers of light, and it peaks at like maybe 1100. So they are getting some 660 nanometers. Well, my son dug up a National Institutes of Health study where they actually literally blinded rabbits with GE 250 watt heat lamp bulbs. And he said, Mom, if there was enough of the 660 nanometers of light in the spectrum, then it would have protected those eyes. And then when talking with him further and the OSHA inspector and reading all those studies, it turns out that your eyes actually just absorb the heat faster than all other tissues in your body. And so just like we have the shunting of the blood in the near infrared sauna, your body also goes into defensive mode and says, oh my gosh, we don't want that retina getting too hot. So let's thicken the lens of the eye, which forms cataracts. And when you go online and read on Wikipedia and the OSHA and all these things, they say that you should protect the eyes. I mean, obviously 30% of sunlight is near infrared. If you sit next to a fireplace, you're getting near infrared. A welder, they wear specific glasses because part of those arcs are damaging to the eye in that spectrum. So basically, I went to buy, because I was convinced after doing 2 years of daily near-infrared sauna therapy without eye protection, I went to go buy glasses, and nobody sold any that completely protected 700 to 1400. They had laser glasses that had other spectrums, but nothing. And so I got a hold of a company, because you have to have them FDA approved. They have to, meet certain guidelines. And basically, the glasses that I came up with are a polycarbonate that wrap all the way around, the side temple, which is especially important if you're using a radiant tent. And they'll fit over, reading glasses. But no one had these. And when I priced out, let's only block 700 to 1400, the price per pair of glasses was over $300, and it would have to be a solid glass lens, so you lost the side protection. So I made these, and they protect 190 to 1800 nanometers of light, so they actually block out blue light. They can be used for sunglasses. They can be used for a lot of things. But see, I do wear glasses, and I had an eye exam, about every 2 years, and I had started using near infrared without any eyewear protection before I knew about it. So as soon as I found out and got some eyewear, I went in, it was time for my exam, and sure enough, I had slight cataracts forming in my eyes. Now, since I've had those exams, it hasn't progressed any further. Obviously that's anecdotal, but we have one pair of eyes. I never sell a sauna without the glasses. Actually, I have carried $2 million in product liability insurance on the sauna fix. And part of the reason why I was able to get down to almost $700 a month in insurance for that is that I produce, I provide the glasses. And so I just, as soon as I learn something, I don't want to defend a past habit of, I sold saunas without the eyewear. I mean, I want to take the extra precaution and provide the safety, for the clients.
Yes, and that's what I'm doing now is I'm wearing the SaunaFix sauna glasses when I'm doing an infrared sauna session in my lamp sauna because it's incredibly important to protect your eyes. And so I'm glad that you brought that to my attention and to our listeners' attention as well. And so let's talk about how exercise and near infrared sauna use can boost your weight loss by 444%. I mean, I'll admit it. One of the reasons I use an infrared sauna is for weight loss because, we have lots of, number one, you burn calories, increase circulation in a sauna, and you have all these toxins stored in your fat. And if you aren't sweating, you've got to have some way to heat up those fat cells. Near infrared and infrared is a great way to do that. And you want to release all those toxins from your fat and then sweat them out. And many people don't lose weight because your body has to store these toxins somewhere. It needs those fat cells as a storage receptacle, the body, garbage can of the body to store this stuff. And so your body won't let you release it, won't let go of those fat cells because it's got to put it somewhere. So can you talk a little bit about that, about weight loss and sauna use?
Sure. I ran across a German study where they had 40 women riding bicycles, and the results were dramatic. The study length was for 1 month. Participants came 3 days a week and rode stationary bicycles for 45 minutes. That was it. And they were in an open room. 20 of them had near infrared lights shining on them, like about 18 inches to 24 inches away from their body. And amazing things happened. They lost over 444% more fat and weight. And actually, because they theorized that with the near infrared, it sped up the fat cell metabolism and then actually burned that fat for energy. And, our whole body has a metabolism, but then every cell, muscle cells have a different metabolism. It's like where you accumulate your fat, that part of your body's cooler, it's because it's a slower metabolism. And so in that 1 month study, they also lost 8 centimeters in the circumference of their body. And so, their blood sugar improved, they had less pain, they were more flexible. I mean, just dramatic. That's like unheard of. That's like for every time you exercise, if you had near infrared light shining on you, it'd be like doing the exercise 4 times. It's like I don't exercise anymore unless I have the light shining on me. And, I've never been really too overweight. I mean, I'm 6 foot tall. I mean, I think my height was 180. I mean, my heaviest weight was 183, which was too much for me. And I had been using the regular sauna. I had the old sauna version, where I would sit in that had the R4.5. And then I switched to the one prototype where I was laying down, but it was still the older insulation. And so then I switched out for the hot yoga tent. Jen Bodner from Yoga Digest had one of my other saunas. And then they got a second one and they zipped the tents together, to make it bigger. And they were doing, yoga poses. And she goes, "Oh, Eileen, if it was only this tall and we could do this." And so I made the bigger tent. And so it's really only, about 16 inches longer than the lay down version I had. So I figured, okay, I'll just put that in there. And I lost 23 pounds doing nothing. I mean, I didn't even do the 45-minute routine, and I just started doing stretching and yoga poses for about 10 minutes. And then I would finish up with just the rotating, but I was already in the 10 minutes, I was dripping sweat. And I did nothing else different. Workaholic, just I definitely do my saunas, and it just made a world of difference. I mean, dropped 2 sizes, you know. So it's backed up by science. That's what's so awesome. And I was in a car wreck and had knee surgery, and so with this tent, especially like with the poles in the middle, because of my knees, I can't go all the way down like I used to. So I can do a little assist, but I'm just getting more flexible, and it's just wonderful.
Yeah, and so ladies, listen up. If you're having trouble losing weight and you've been doing the dieting, you've been starving yourself, you've been exercising like that hamster on a wheel going nowhere, because we've all been there before, including myself, infrared sauna use is one of the number one things you need to do to sweat out toxins, obesogens that are chemicals and toxins that cause your stem cells to turn into fat cells rather than ear cells or other cells in your body. It will promote stem cells in your body to turn into fat cells and cause your current fat cells to grow exponentially larger. That's what these toxins, chemicals, parabens, pesticides, and other things are doing inside your body. You want to get them out of you, and one of the best ways to do that is with an infrared lamp sauna. So let's talk about one of the negative effects of sauna use, which obviously, if you're sweating, it's mineral loss. And so we have to do things to mitigate that mineral loss from our bodies, because minerals are a huge factor in detoxing your body from heavy metals. Metals can be pushed out of your body by taking minerals, repleting minerals. And so you discovered something called healthy salt, and it's you say it's much better than Himalayan salt or Redmond's real salt. Can you talk a little bit about that? It's really interesting. It's this really, really fine powder. It's the finest salt that I've ever tried. And why don't you talk a little about that and how it can help replete minerals from sweating in your sauna, and just if you're not doing a sauna.
Yeah, the healthy salt comes in a little jar. It's just 2 ounces, but the dosage is 1/16 of a teaspoon in your mouth. Like it's a little tiny powder. You just put a little bit in there. It's actually almost 30% minerals. I probably shouldn't have called it healthy salt. It's got a 10.72 pH. Now, I met a Korean acupuncturist, and his family has had this processing recipe for thousands of years to make it. It is not the 9 times roasted bamboo salt. It's different because it's got the highest content of minerals, lowest sodium, smallest particulate size, and it's just, phenomenal because, as Wendy explained, that we can drive heavy metals out of our body by taking minerals. Why we're getting toxic in the first place is a lot of the minerals are not in our food, or we're stressed out and we need higher amounts than we're getting. And so the body will use junkyard parts. I tell people it's like your car, duct taping something together or using baling wire. You can still get from point A to point B, and the body does the same thing. But when it has the minerals in this ratio of healthy salt, it's amazing, because I've done lab tests. I did regular monthly lab tests, and sure enough, every time I was on that salt, my body dumped tons of toxins, and then my good minerals increased as well. My energy production increased. It is just phenomenal for keeping the mineral content, whether you're doing a sauna or not. And also, a lot of people are like dehydrated, and they, are acid, doing the alkaline, everything. But I mean, just drink 1 cup of coffee and do a pH test strip and you're going to be acid. And pretty much everything out there, it takes a while to shift your body alkaline. Not with the healthy salt. This is like so dramatic alkaline. And your body loves the minerals. It thinks it won the lottery. And so it just helps this whole process that, Wendy's teaching you about detox. Let's give it new car parts so it'll freely give up the junkyard parts and keep your body from becoming, minerally depleted because you are going to sweat a lot more, especially in the radiant tent sauna. So
yeah, and what you mean by that is that when you don't have the minerals that your body needs, it's not in the food, it's not in the soil that the food's grown in, that your body will actually use heavy metals. It'll use cadmium to repair your arteries. It'll use other metals and other things that are not preferred, because it just doesn't have the minerals to repair the body in the way at which it wants to. And so it's incredibly important to take minerals in all different types of forms because we're all deficient in minerals. And what I love about the healthy salt, it's the super fine powder, very readily absorbable, because many people today, there are so many things working against their gut absorption, including stress and just so many different things, antibiotics, glyphosate, lack of energy to absorb nutrients, a lot of different issues in the gut. And so people are taking lots and lots and lots of supplements and their mineral levels are not going up. So that's a big problem too. And I love it that you did this self-experimentation where you were doing hair mineral analyses. And when you're taking the salt, you see all your heavy metals going up and increasing because your body's pushing them out. And when you stop doing the salt, then your hair test, you didn't have as many metals coming out. So I love that you're doing self-testing like that.
Well, I met this guy, and the salt's incredibly expensive. I'm my own guinea pig. If there's science behind something, I usually thoroughly test it. And when he had all my favorite salts out there and all these glasses of water with acid water in them and putting a pinch in, and none of them changed color except the one he put the healthy salt in, it went blue. I go, okay, I'm sold. So I did the take a hair analysis, go on the salt for 1 month, stop, take a hair analysis, and I alternated every other month to the point where I knew for sure that this was affecting my body. And then I spent like $3,000 on testing the salt. He told me it was like 9 pH, and the lab test came back at 10.72. He said that it, had this and that, and so I confirmed it all with lab testing. It's like Himalayan salt. There was a book that came out in, 2003 about make your water Soleil and all this kind of stuff and, mineralize your body. Well, looking at the certificate mineral analysis of Himalayan salt, it's mostly sodium chloride and it has 0.8% minerals. So it's like 98% sodium chloride, some sulfur, and then just a little tiny bit of minerals, less than 1%. So like magnesium in Himalayan salt is 1 part per million. In healthy salt, it's 6,800 parts per million. So you get an idea when a salt has almost 30% minerals, you're just going to have so much more. And the other interesting thing is when you measure the ORP value of a liquid, the lower it goes, the more, the higher it goes, the more inflammatory it is to the body. And it was so interesting because we measured Himalayan water salt Soleil, and the longer it stayed in the water, the more acid it went down to like in the 5 range. And the higher the ORP value went. So literally all these people following the advice of these experts and reading that book are actually causing inflammation in their body, and they're not really mineralizing themselves. And so probably more people buy Himalayan salt than, any kind of salt out there. So I actually threw it away and I used the healthy salt therapeutically. And then I found some salt from the Sea of Cortez that is the second highest mineral content with an 8 pH that complements that for the cooking. So yeah, salt is so important. I mean, before refrigeration, a lot of foods were salted and preserved, and people had a lot more salt in their diet, but the people with high blood pressure, even the healthy salt, because it's such low sodium, they're able to use it without spiking their blood pressure. So it's amazing. Just don't start off taking your healthy salt at night because it really gives you energy. There's some product reviews on there. One guy said you should say that it's happy salt because he just doesn't even have to take his depression medication anymore. And it's just like, who knew that such mineral depletion could cause so many problems? But
Oh yeah, I mean minerals are used in every different metabolic function in our body. You don't have minerals, a lot of things are not going to work properly. Big surprise, no energy, you're not going to feel good, you're going to feel depressed, your brain's not going to work. Minerals are the spark plugs of the body. We need them. And I love these differentiations that you're making about different salts because they're just because it says salt on it doesn't mean that it's full of minerals. There's a very wide variance in mineral content and quality of salts, from really terrible to table salt to healthy salt, which I think is the healthiest salt out there that you can buy. Granted, it is expensive, but it's just when you have that really, really super high mineral content, 30% minerals compared to less than 1% in Himalayan sea salt, that's a huge, huge difference in your health.
The real salt, the gray salt from France, the Hawaiian salt, they're all like less than 2% minerals. They're anywhere from, less than 1% to maybe, 2% at the max. And so it's just a huge game changer when you can give somebody, especially somebody with, heart issues, a low sodium salt, either for cooking, the Baja Gold, or the healthy salt for the therapeutic. It just makes a huge difference. We have a lot of customers where it's just that simple thing. They don't do anything else, and that just helps them tremendously.
Yes, I love the healthy salt. I've been taking it every single day, and I'm just so happy that I met you and got introduced to this. It's just an amazing complement to my health regime, and so simple. And so, if anyone's interested in getting this, you can click the link below to Eileen Durfee's website. And all the products that we're talking about are all available on her site. But I don't want to stop the interview just yet because you have some other things that I love. You've got this personal air filter that I absolutely love. It's called the Breathe Safe. And what I love about it is because there are a lot of differentiations that you make about air filters and that we're going to talk about, but a lot of air filters are really loud and they suck the air in and they make all this noise, and it's just bothersome to me. And so I don't like those type of air filters, and some of them are really, really large and it can be quite an investment. But what's great about this is you can just put it on your desk, in your personal space, or just carry it with you even if you're going somewhere and you're super, super sensitive to air or mold in your air. Some people are hyper sensitive, multiple chemicals sensitive, have mold issues. They walk into a building and just get knocked over by the mold. Can you talk a little bit about your Breathe Safe invention?
Sure. It's portable because you can plug it into a power bank, that you have for your laptop or your tablet, battery. This will run for 72 hours. And I designed it that way so it doesn't have an internal fan, but you'll feel a breeze across here. That's because the voltage that I put through the needles and then the top plate causes a reaction. It's actually a new way to make oxygen. So it makes a tremendous amount of negative ions and a little bit of positive. It's kind of like priming the pump, where repeatedly rob hydrogen molecules off the surface of pathogens. So it cleans the air, it breaks down volatile organic compounds, it cleans particulates smaller than a HEPA filter will clean. But I, read a sauna study from Europe because they rate ion therapy as half the benefits of taking a sauna. And some of the saunas, when they were pouring water over the rocks, were emitting positive ions and causing people to be extra fatigued and have headaches, and was actually not healthy for them. And so they began testing all the different sauna heaters to make sure that they produced enough negative ions. And they found out that if the air is filled with at least 20,000 ions per cubic centimeter, that's like the size of a sugar cube, then the sweat volume of the person would double, and they would get hotter. And you'd think, maybe with all that sweating, you'd be uncomfortable, but actually, strangely enough, in this test, they felt more refreshed. And then another interesting thing, because we take a sauna to heat up our core body temperature. And when these people got out of the sauna, their rectal temperature continued to rise. Initially in saunas without that many negative ions, your body temperature goes down. It's like that homeostatic shift where your body's trying to cool you down. It can't do it, and then it increases. With the Breeze Safe, it's producing 300%, almost 60,000 negative ions per cubic centimeter in the SaunaFix tent size. So you're going to inhale so much more, and that causes you to sweat even faster. But even more importantly, in my opinion, because with the radiant tent, you're going to sweat so fast anyway, is the humidification of the sweat coming out of your body. You are going to re-inhale that. So if you can have a powerful device that cleans that, you're not going to be inhaling as many toxins from that steam, so to speak. And so this device has multiple purposes. You can use it in your sauna, but as Wendy was talking about multiple chemical sensitivities, there's customers that couldn't leave their house. They can, hang a purse over their, center of their body and put that on a battery pack and have it just emitting the plasma and oxygen up to their body, and then they're not having the reactions. And so it's really helping people get their life back. There's customer reviews as far as asthma attacks and allergy. They just are sniffing over the Breeze Safe and getting relief. And so there was something special going on in this device. And so I sent it off to the lab because I surmised something else was going on. And by pure accident, this voltage differentiation that I created is producing oxygen. It's a new way to make oxygen. And now background levels, wherever you're at, depending on if you're outdoors or indoors or wherever, it's 15 to 20% oxygen that you're breathing. Right off the top of the Breeze Safe is 17% oxygen. So lo and behold, this little device, pointing it at your face, you are going to increase your oxygen inhalation by 70 to 118%, depending on what your background levels are now. It can't really be compared to anything else. It doesn't have a fan, so I can't have a CDAR rating as far as, what square footage will it clean. But it's a life hack for people. You can, plug it into your cigarette lighter in your car, keep it at your desk. People are sleeping with it. There was even one customer that says they've been able to get off their sleep apnea equipment. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I love it because it's so important to increase our oxygen intake. People today, we have low oxygen levels in the atmosphere compared to 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, a million years ago. We just have less plants, less oxygen production, lot of carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and things emitted from cars, and it reduces the amount of oxygen that we intake into our tissues. We have low tissue levels of oxygen, especially live at high elevations. So this is a great hack to be able to increase your oxygen levels. But I think that's also amazing too, that you can also kind of clean up the air inside your sauna. That actually never really occurred to me.
Yeah, and it'll work in any sauna. I mean, I actually had a customer who had the old version of the Sonafix. A teenage son took a sauna Friday and they left for the weekend and came back Saturday. And he left the Sonafix on. It was 300 degrees in the sauna. The Sonafix was still on. The house didn't burn down and the air purifier melted, but it was still working. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter what kind of sauna you've got. You can add the oxygen, the negative ions, and see the benefits.
Yeah, I really liked it when I first got it and I turned it on and I just left the room and I came back and it would just had completely changed the environment of the room. Like the air smelled so fresh. It was really a noticeable difference and change in my environment. And I always have it on. I'm sitting here at my desk and I love this little thing. And I think it's just really amazing that you can take it with you and just kind of clean your personal airspace. And because the air outside, I'm sorry, but it's going to continue to get worse as, we have the car emissions and we have all the companies illegally emitting toxic chemicals into our environment. And Trump is, just letting the EPA just repeal all of the laws regarding environmental safety. They're not protecting us any longer. And so I think just a lot more toxic chemicals are going to be released into our air and into our water as well. And it makes little gadgets like this far more important, especially if you are super, super sensitive to toxins and breathing in toxins.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just going to quickly show you one thing. This top pulls off. And when this bar right here gets dirty, like I need to clean it, I cleaned it about, a week ago, it will actually not produce as much. So like a little kid toothbrush, just go in here, clean it here with a toothbrush, and, it's going to be less than, basically 1 minute or 2 minutes to clean this thing, and no replacement filters, and it's pretty much silent. So yeah,
That's what I really like, the silence. That's what I like in my air filters. And so let's talk a little bit about some of your beauty products, which we all love as ladies, natural, healthy beauty products that actually work because they don't all work. So you have this tallow deodorant. I absolutely love this. And there's not that many good natural deodorants on the market, but I've used half of this already. And I love it because it has a lemon lime scent. And I put it on and it works for a couple of days. I only have to put it on once every couple of days. Can you talk a little bit about the tallow deodorant and what tallow is and how this helps to stop sweat and stop odor?
Sure. Basically, my daughter, nothing would work for her. We had bought every single natural deodorant manufactured. And we heard about this. And so basically, tallow is from, beef. It's bovine. And, a lot of like the Western Price Association, they talk about rendering and making tallow. It's like in the 1800s, any of the soaps, basically they rendered animal fat and made, skincare products. And so what we did, because, out of a cow, there's, maybe 200-300 pounds of fat. We don't use all of it because what we found out is like you'd render it and you'd smell like a hamburger all day. and you'd have to put in tons of everything to the point where the fragrance would knock you over. So we found that if we only use the fat that sets on top of the kidneys inside this fascia sac, so, like grass-fed cows hardly have any fat on them. So we might only get 10 pounds per animal of this fat. And then we render it down and we blend different things in it with, essential oils and, zinc oxide and some baking soda and all of that. And so, but what it does is it allows you to sweat. And my daughter, there was nothing that worked. And she was applying deodorant on several times a day. Nothing would work. And this, she can apply once. And I mean, she's a nursing mother now. And so when you're a nursing mother, you actually have more body odor than at other times. And it works for her. And so we started, giving some out to people, and people kept on begging for it because nothing would work for them. I ran across a client who's on prescription, deodorant that wasn't even working, and it solved their problem. And like Wendy said, you put some on and it lasts for 2 days. You don't even have to reapply it every day. And so it's just totally non-toxic and natural, but there's actually a lot of healing ingredients in the fat. And I mean, the human skin, because we have fat and everything else, it's just like, I guess an example would be as if you had melted butter and you put it on your skin and rubbed it, it would absorb in. And so this deodorant actually absorbs in, and then it's non-greasy, but you have no smell, but you still sweat. So we're not, stopping the body's natural mechanism.
Yeah, and you said you even have people in the desert in the Middle East where they're sweating over there, and they're you're shipping this to the Middle East by the truckloads because it's working.
In Saudi Arabia, so when anybody orders, we always give them a sample of the deodorant because we know if they'll try it and they have a sweating problem, they'll never use anything else. And so lo and behold, then here's a repeat customer from Saudi Arabia, and they bought 10 jars of it at a time, so I mean, it's obviously working.
Yeah, and I love this ingredient. So you've got grass range fed, no hormones or antibiotics, cow kidney tallow. You've got extra virgin olive oil, organic, aluminum-free baking soda. That's key because a lot of baking sodas in natural deodorants are not aluminum-free. And so you're trying to avoid conventional deodorant with aluminum, but lo and behold, the baking soda or the baking powder has aluminum in it. Hello. So you have zinc oxide, which is non-nanonized, because zinc oxides that are nanonized can be problematic. And you've got organic arrowroot powder, which absorbs moisture. And then you've got these amazing essential oils that smell so good. Lemongrass, tea tree, lime, sweet orange, and bergamot, which I love. And those kill bacteria naturally. So you're just hitting on all points with this deodorant to work really, really well. And I also love your tallow balm. This is the name of this is called Acceptance. This also has some really wonderful essential oils. It's the same thing. It's the beef kidney tallow, but it doesn't have the ingredients in it to absorb moisture like a deodorant does. So this is just a moisturizer for your skin. I've been putting this on my elbows and my feet, and it just smells absolutely heavenly. Can you talk about this stuff?
Sure. It's just the ultimate moisturizer. We have like the lavender, we have the unscented, and we have the acceptance blend. The acceptance blend has got frankincense along with other things. So it's really healing and, anti-aging. And I actually use it. I put tallow all over my face every morning. And when I've been on television shows and gone in for makeup, and they're in there getting ready to put makeup on, and they're going, oh my gosh, what have you got on your skin? We spend 75% of the time just building up, moisturizing the skin before we even apply makeup, because they really cake it on for TV, and they just can't believe it. And so it's just super moisturizing. And then My grandson has eczema, and a lot of clients have bought it and they use it for everything from eczema to psoriasis. And it actually, even though that's an internal problem that we need to fix with copper toxicity and other things, how many people out there have skin problems that they're itching and they're uncomfortable, and so this acceptance blend is phenomenal, for that. It's my favorite. We have the lavender. We also have unscented, and there's no other tallow out there that you can get that's unscented that you're not going to smell like a hamburger running around. So there's no order even with the unscented.
Yeah, great. Well, Eileen, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much for imparting your knowledge and your research about every different aspect of sauna use and giving us all these tools to be able to increase and improve the results of our sauna sessions.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. It's great to educate people. It's like we've been sick, and when we feel better and we've found things that work, we want to share them just naturally.
Yeah, so you can learn more about Eileen's work at creatrixsolutions.com. You can click the link below, also below this podcast, this video, to click through and learn all about the things we talked about today on the show. And everyone, thank you so much for listening. It's such a pleasure every week to do this podcast and educate you guys. And I get to learn too while I'm doing it. I have so much fun doing it. So thanks for tuning in. And we will be back next week with another informative podcast all about heavy metal and chemical detoxification. Thanks so much for listening.